Hello, thank you for watching. I'm Heidi Cloutier, one of the trainers from the Northeast Positive Behavior Interventions and Supports Network. The content for this module was developed by the Northeast Positive Behavior Interventions and Supports and the Center on PBIS. This is part 3 of 3 on developing a continuum for responding to behavior errors, with today's focus on developing and using a behavior referral form. In part 1, we explored the importance of clearly defining behaviors, and in part 2, we explored consistent responses using a behavior flowchart. Today, we'll dive into how to develop and use a behavior referral form. This content will walk you through the importance of having a referral form, including procedures for informing others, such as substitutes, teachers, and other staff, and providing instruction to new faculty, staff, students, in order to ensure consistent implementation of your procedures. You'll work with your team to determine how you'll get feedback from stakeholders and train staff to use your behavior referral form. Please be sure to submit these documents in Canvas so you can get feedback from your trainers at the end. The primary purpose of implementing positive behavior interventions and supports is to change the climate of our schools so that they're a great place to grow educationally, emotionally, and socially. An important measurement of progress involves tracking behavior referrals or office discipline referrals. A school with a poor climate should see a reduction in office discipline referrals as your climate improves. A predictable discipline referral process must be established to ensure accurate database decision-making systems. However, it's important to note that it's normal to see an increase in discipline referrals as your school increases the consistency in which behaviors are tracked. This is completely normal, but it can be alarming if you don't understand that this is occurring due to increased consistency of staff using the procedures put in place. The referral process must be defined, taught, and agreed upon with all staff. Remember, an office discipline referral needs enough information to support decision-making without overwhelming staff with too much information. We also want to pay attention to establishing systems to support fidelity, such as training and supporting staff to be pushed in periodically in the form of professional development, prompts, and check-ins for consistency. So let's take a look at the referral form. Important considerations for your referral form include the what, why, and how. The what includes a product for documenting your office discipline referrals or behavior referrals. The why is the rationale for collecting and using this data to plan effective supports and interventions for addressing concerning behavior. The why do we need office discipline referrals or behavior referrals? It gives administrators and behavior support teams a starting point for understanding information relevant to the behavior that's occurring. It also helps establish and document patterns of behavior and can guide the discipline process, ensuring that every student is being met with the same process. It prompts staff to assess prior strategies that have been implemented on their own to attempt to correct the behavior. And how you will implement the documentation process. Will you have a paper process, paperless, separate, or combined referral forms or processes? Many schools decide to use paper forms, but one attractive option is a paperless referral. The school-wide information system database allows schools to enable paperless referrals for all staff to enter a behavior referral. If your school isn't using SWIS, you can still explore paperless referrals using other shared data systems. You would just need to ensure that this is a confidential system that allows for all staff to enter referrals, and that you clearly identify who's responsible for following through with the referrals, including timeframes. In our eyes, office discipline referrals or behavior referrals isn't punishment. It turns out it's pretty hard to punish someone with a piece of paper. An office discipline referral tells a small story about a student's behavior that someone saw and how that person reacted to it. We use those behavior referrals or office discipline referrals to track data on that behavior so that we can more effectively put interventions in place to teach a more appropriate behavior. The referral form needs to include factual, objective information about what happened, the rationale for the behavior, and clearly outline a procedure for documenting this behavior. These are all critical fields to include on the referral form listed here, which are essential to identify trends and inform interventions. But let's highlight a few common errors that are made in completing the referral form. So time of incident is one that folks often struggle with. This should be the time the incident occurred, not the time that staff are completing the form. The referring staff should be staff who observed the incident or was involved. Ideally, whoever observed the incident is completing that behavior referral. Perceived motivation is the why the student likely engaged in the behavior in the first place. Remember, all human behavior is to get or avoid something, such as a tangible object or activity, attention from peers or adults, or sensory stimulation. If you need a refresher on function of behavior, feel free to watch the short video on function of behavior and power struggles in the Northeast Positive Behavior Interventions and Supports resources. The other category on the behavior referral form should really only include brief objective notes about the incident, such as the student's behavior was in response to another child throwing a ball that hit them in the face. What we want to avoid in the other section is emotionally charged essays about what occurred. Again, keeping it brief and factual so that whoever's processing that referral has all the information that they need. So let's look at some examples of referral forms. There are several examples of referral forms, and this example demonstrates the use of checkboxes and less narrative, which allows for efficient completion and less confusion. Remember that if we want staff to consistently use the referral form, we must ensure that it's quick and easy to understand and use. You'll notice as well on this example that the minor behaviors, which tend to be more frequent, appear on the left, and majors, which are usually less frequent, appear on the right. This is intentionally designed for ease and efficiency for staff completion. This is another great example that demonstrates organizing the form in quick, discrete categories to allow for the form to be completed in 30 seconds or less. Some schools also choose to include behavior definitions on the back of the page. Here's another example. Note the key at the bottom of the page for minors, majors, motivation, and action taken. Remember, the referral form should take less than a minute for staff to complete if we want them to use them regularly. So keep it simple, organizing, using check boxes, and making sure that our procedures are clear are going to help with implementation. So let's look at implementation procedures. In order to effectively implement the procedures developed, you'll need to identify how and when to train staff in these procedures and think about how to ensure consistent use by staff. Consider scheduling regular reviews of the use of these forms and their effectiveness, which relates to how you'll track and progress monitor this data. One common complaint we hear about behavior referral forms or office discipline referral forms are that staff complete them, but they don't always receive any communication about what happened after they completed the form. This can feel like there was no follow through, but often this isn't the case at all. It's merely a matter of protecting the student's right to privacy. Administrators should work with their teams to understand when and how they'll be informed about how the incident was handled to avoid this mindset. A quick email that communicates to the referring staff that the office discipline referral was received and an administrator or behavior support team will follow up with the student can go a long way in helping staff know that their time completing the form was well spent. It's also important to regularly share the data out with staff so they can celebrate successes, provide input on whether the data is accurate, and assist in problem-solving solutions. As you work with your team, we want you to develop or revise your existing referral form. Work with your team to determine how you'll get input from stakeholders and train staff to use your procedures. Plan out when and how you'll track these data and use them for decision making. If you would like to explore additional resources to help your team outline your referral process, please consider checking out these resources. Thanks for joining me to explore getting started step number 7, developing and using a referral form. We explored the critical pieces needed to identify trends and inform interventions, discuss common errors staff make in completing referral forms, shared examples, and explored the importance of sharing this data out with stakeholders regularly. Your team should follow up with your team tasks related to this content, including developing or revising your referral form, working with your team to determine how you'll get input from stakeholders, train staff, and use the data for making decisions about appropriate interventions. And don't forget to submit your referral form in Canvas for feedback from your trainers. If you have any questions or would like additional support, please reach out to your Massachusetts Academy trainers and be sure to check out the other segments on developing systems for responding to behavior errors in this series. Thanks for engaging in this important work.